From weird skin rashes, to feeling tired all the time, to that chest pain you keep brushing off as heartburn, your body is screaming at you right now. And spoiler alert, while some warning signs are so obvious, you'd have to be ignoring a fire alarm, others sound like absolutely nothing until it's almost too late. But here's the thing. The average person's body starts sending distress signals 2 to 5 years before a major health crisis. That's like getting a low battery warning on your phone, ignoring it for years, and then acting shocked when it dies at the worst possible moment. So today, we're breaking down the 7 warning signs your body gives you years before things go catastrophically wrong. And trust me, you probably have at least one of these right now. But first, let's talk about the warning sign that sounds the most harmless, but might be your body's first cry for help. Let's talk about chronic exhaustion. Not the "I stayed up late tired," not the long day at work tired. I'm talking about the kind where you wake up after 8 hours and feel like you ran a marathon. Where 3 cups of coffee barely register. Where you think, "I'll rest my eyes for 5 minutes," and suddenly it's 2 hours later. Most people brush this off. Busy schedule, getting older, stress, juggling work, and life. Everyone's tired, right? Except, your body doesn't send signals for no reason. Doctors now recognize persistent fatigue as one of the earliest warnings before something catastrophic. Heart failure, diabetes, thyroid disease, certain cancers. Studies show people ignore this for 2 to 3 years on average before mentioning it to a doctor. 2 to 3 years. That's like your phone showing 1% battery while you keep scrolling Instagram hoping it magically recharges. Take Sarah, a 42-year-old marketing exec from Ohio. For 3 years, she blamed exhaustion on her job and 2 teenagers. She'd crash on the couch after work. Weekends meant sleeping till noon. Then afternoon naps. Friends joked she was basically a cat. Sarah wasn't laughing at her routine physical. Her A1C was 8.2. Anything over 6.5 means diabetes. Her pancreas had been struggling for years, screaming about it through exhaustion. Her doctor said another year, and she'd be looking at insulin dependency and nerve damage. All because tired felt normal. It's not just diabetes. Chronic fatigue signals early heart failure, where your heart can't pump efficiently. Hypothyroidism, where your metabolism runs in slow motion. Even early blood cancers. The problem? We've normalized exhaustion. We wear it like a badge. I'm so busy, I only got 4 hours of sleep. Running on empty all week. Modern medicine makes testing insanely easy. A basic blood panel takes 10 minutes. But people don't, because feeling like a zombie seems like part of adulting. But if you think exhaustion is concerning, the next warning literally shows up on your skin for everyone to see. And somehow people still ignore it for years. Your skin is basically a billboard advertising what's broken inside. When something goes wrong internally, your skin snitches. The problem is, people see weird changes and think, that's odd, then move on with their day. Dark patches on your neck or armpits, slight yellowing of your skin, small red dots like tiny blood blisters appearing randomly. These aren't cosmetic problems. They're your body painting warning signs years before a crisis. Take acanthosis nigricans, those dark, velvety patches in skin folds. People think it's dirt. Some scrub their skin raw trying to wash it off. Spoiler: you can't wash off a metabolic disorder. Those patches mean your insulin is out of control. Studies show acanthosis nigricans can appear 5 to 10 years before a diabetes diagnosis. 5 to 10 years. A decade-long heads up that your pancreas is struggling, and most people just buy better soap. Or jaundice. Not obvious Simpsons character yellow. The subtle yellowing of eye whites that people blame on bad lighting or needing sleep. That's your liver sending an SOS. James, a 38-year-old Portland accountant, noticed yellowish eyes in photos. iPhone camera, he figured. His wife said his skin looked off. Not enough sun, he said. For 18 months, he dismissed early-stage liver disease. By the time he saw a doctor, his liver enzymes were 5 times normal. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease heading toward cirrhosis. His doctor said another year, and they'd be discussing transplant lists. 18 months of his liver dying, while his body literally changed color as a warning. James got lucky. Early enough that lifestyle changes reversed most damage. He jokes now about blaming Apple's camera instead of listening to his skin. The problem is normalizing body ignoring. We see weird changes, Google them, find benign explanations, move on. Probably age spots. Meanwhile, your liver is screaming, "I'm literally changing your pigmentation for attention, dude." Dermatologists now recognize skin changes as first visible signs of internal disease. Your skin connects to everything inside. Blood sugar off? Skin knows. Liver struggling? Skin knows. It's trying to tell you, but skin changes are at least visible. The next warning is invisible until it literally changes how you see the world. And by then, you might have lost something permanently. Here's something harmless sounding that kills you. You're at your desk and notice a weird ache in your jaw. Not your teeth, your jaw. Dull, annoying, not exactly painful. You figure stress clenching. Maybe slept wrong. Take ibuprofen. Forget about it. Except that jaw pain, your heart screaming it's about to fail. Welcome to referred pain, where your body sends signals to random places, making zero sense. Your heart struggles, but instead of chest pain like a normal organ, it makes your jaw ache, or your left arm, or between your shoulder blades. Apparently, your cardiovascular system has a twisted sense of humor. And here's the terrifying part. Unlike gradual fatigue or skin changes, cardiac warnings can be subtle until suddenly they're not. Weird jaw to full cardiac arrest in weeks. Michael, a 52-year-old Austin teacher, completely healthy, ran 3 times weekly, ate well, normal weight. For 6 months, he'd get bizarre shoulder and jaw discomfort when exercising. Not pain exactly, just pressure that disappeared after cooling down. Michael mentioned it to his wife. Probably getting older, she said. So Michael did what millions do. Ignored it, kept running. Until one morning, the jaw pressure became crushing pain, radiating down his left arm. He collapsed on the sidewalk. A neighbor called 911. Paramedics arrived in 8 minutes. Massive heart attack. Main coronary artery 95% blocked. The ER cardiologist said 10 minutes later and he'd be dead, period. But here's what messed Michael up. Full workup found he'd had 2 previous minor heart attacks he never knew about. Silent attacks. His heart had been damaged at least a year. The whole time, trying to warn him through jaw and shoulder weirdness. 6 months of warnings. 6 months of cardiovascular flares, and Michael thought he pulled a muscle. About 50% of heart attack victims have warning symptoms weeks or months before. Jaw pain, shoulder pain, unusual exercise fatigue, weird indigestion, ignoring antacids, but symptoms are so vague, people ignore them until almost too late. The term is prodromal angina. Your heart saying it's not getting enough oxygen because coronary arteries are narrowing. Every time you exercise or stress your system, your heart chokes a bit. It gets your attention by making something else hurt. Modern cardiology catches these warnings early. Simple EKG shows heart rhythm issues. Stress test reveals struggle under exertion. But you have to actually mention that weird jaw pain to your doctor. Sometimes your cardiovascular system doesn't announce itself with dramatic chest clutching like the movies. Sometimes it just makes your jaw ache. But if cardiac warnings are scary because they escalate fast, the next one is more disturbing. It's happening in your brain, and you might not realize until someone else points it out. Imagine making coffee, and suddenly you can't remember where you keep the mugs. Not distracted. Genuinely cannot remember. Even though you've lived here 8 years and opened that cabinet every morning. Or mid-conversation, you lose basic words. Not entrepreneur. Words like chair or phone. Your brain blanks and you're pointing at things like a toddler. Most people think they're stressed. Joke about early Alzheimer's at 45. Laugh it off. Blame being busy. Convince themselves it's normal aging. Except it's not. Cognitive changes like memory lapses, word-finding trouble, personality shifts, or mood swings can be your brain signaling something's physically wrong. Brain tumors, early dementia, Parkinson's, autoimmune conditions attacking your nervous system. And here's what makes this insidious. You're losing the ability to recognize you're losing abilities. Your brain is the malfunctioning organ, so it can't accurately assess its own malfunction. It's like using a broken thermometer to diagnose your fever. Rebecca, a 41-year-old Seattle attorney, sharp, top of her class, known for never forgetting details. Then, over 14 months, things got weird. She'd forget client names in meetings, walk into rooms with no idea why, get lost driving to familiar places. Her husband noticed unusual irritability and trouble following conversations. Rebecca would zone out mid-sentence, lose her train of thought, or talk about something completely unrelated. Rebecca's explanation: work stress, complicated case, long hours, bad sleep. Obviously, her brain was tired. Her doctor agreed, prescribed sleep aids, suggested vacation. 14 months. 14 months of her husband begging for a neurological workup. 14 months of Rebecca insisting everyone was overreacting. Until she had a seizure in the courthouse during a hearing. The MRI revealed a tumor pressing her frontal lobe, growing slowly for at least 2 years. The tumor caused all her symptoms. And the gut punch? If she'd gotten that workup a year earlier, they could have caught it when it was smaller and easier to remove. Instead, emergency brain surgery plus radiation. She survived, cognitive function mostly returned, but she lost a year of her career, and radiation caused permanent surrounding tissue damage. All because she convinced herself forgetting words was just stress. Neurologists now know cognitive symptoms often appear 1 to 3 years before serious conditions become obvious. Your brain tries compensating for damage as long as possible. Eventually, symptoms break through in ways seeming subtle at first. The problem is, these symptoms are easy to dismiss. Everyone forgets things sometimes, right? Fortunately, some people do listen, and catching these bizarre symptoms early can literally save your life. Which brings us to the next warning, one so obvious it seems impossible to ignore. Except people do it constantly. Unlike weird symptoms doctors dismiss, this one's impossible to miss. Persistent cough that won't quit, blood where there shouldn't be, a lump that wasn't there before and isn't going away. Warning signs so obvious you'd think everyone would immediately run to a doctor. Or would they? David, a 47-year-old Denver construction foreman, noticed a small neck lump. Not painful, just there. Figured it was a swollen lymph node from fighting off a cold. Except, this one didn't disappear after weeks. Or months. His wife kept bugging him. David kept saying he would. Just a swollen gland. For nearly 2 years, he watched that lump slowly grow. 2 years of his body literally growing a visible tumor, while he convinced himself it was nothing. By the time David saw a doctor, the lump was golf ball sized. Biopsy. Lymphoma. Stage 3. The oncologist said 18 months earlier, they'd have caught it at stage 1, with 90% 5-year survival. Instead, aggressive chemo and radiation. He's in remission now, but lost 2 years to treatment that could have been way less intensive. Studies show people delay seeking help for obvious symptoms 6 to 18 months on average. 6 to 18 months watching something grow or bleed or hurt, telling themselves it's probably nothing. This is self-destructive psychology at its finest. We see alarming things and rationalize them away. Probably just a cyst. Everyone gets hemorrhoids. It'll go away on its own. But early detection changes everything. Catching cancer at stage 1 means 80-90% survival rates typically. Stage 2, still good, 60-80%. Stage 3 or 4, numbers drop dramatically. Some cancers go from 90% survival at stage 1 to under 30% at stage 4. That's the difference between minor surgery and months of brutal chemo. Between 5 years of life and 50. All because someone looked at a lump and said, I'll deal with it later. Modern screening makes catching these symptoms incredibly effective. Colonoscopies, mammograms, biopsies, CT scans. These aren't mysterious conditions. They're straightforward, and early detection changes everything. So why wait? Fear, mostly. Fear it might be serious, which is insane. Because waiting doesn't make serious things less serious. Your body doesn't give up warning you. It keeps escalating. A small lump becomes bigger. Occasional blood becomes frequent. Mild symptoms become severe. The whole time, your body is screaming, please pay attention. Now, you might notice a theme. Your body has this escalation protocol. Starts with subtle warnings and gradually turns up the volume. Which brings us to the next warning. The one that's your body pulling the fire alarm. And while most warnings are gradual, there's one type that doesn't mess around. These symptoms mean you have minutes to hours, not days or weeks. Sudden, severe chest pain like an elephant on your rib cage. Sudden weakness on one side. Sudden severe abdominal pain making you double over. This isn't your body asking politely. This is your body's emergency broadcast system. Lisa, a 5-year-old accountant, had been having mild chest discomfort during morning walks for 3 months. Got prescribed antacids for reflux, figured that was that. Until one Tuesday when that mild discomfort became crushing pain radiating down her left arm. Lisa called 911 immediately. Paramedics arrived in 9 minutes. Massive heart attack. The ER team placed a stent, restored blood flow within 30 minutes. The cardiologist said her quick response saved her life. 20 minutes longer and she'd have permanent heart damage. An hour? Probably dead. Here's the crucial part. Those 3 months of mild discomfort? Chronic warning. The sudden severe pain? Acute emergency. The moment chronic warning became life-threatening crisis. When it comes to heart attacks and strokes, time is literally tissue. Every minute without blood flow means more heart muscle or brain cells dying. For strokes, there's an acronym everyone should know. FAST. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911. Notice any of these? Call immediately, not in 10 minutes. Immediately. Stroke treatments like clot-busting drugs need administering within 3 to 4.5 hours. After that window, treatment becomes too dangerous. Every minute you wait is brain tissue you can't get back. Same with heart attacks. Modern emergency cardiology is incredible. They can open blocked arteries, place stents, restore blood flow, but they can only save tissue that's still alive. The frustrating thing? Most people delay calling for help. They wonder if it's really serious, don't want to bother anyone, embarrassed if it turns out to be nothing. But emergency professionals will tell you they'd rather respond to 100 false alarms than arrive too late to one real emergency. This is your body's communication system. Chronic symptoms are the polite knock. Acute symptoms are the door getting kicked in. Ideally, you respond to the knock. Thanks to modern emergency response, survival rates for acute events have improved dramatically. But it all depends on recognizing symptoms and acting fast. But while acute emergencies are terrifying, there's one final warning that's become so common in our modern world, we've almost accepted it as normal. And that's exactly the problem. Welcome to the 21st century, where chronic stress isn't just a feeling, it's a medical condition slowly killing you. And we've normalized it so much that "I'm so stressed" is basically a greeting. But here's what's actually happening when you're constantly stressed. Cortisol levels stay elevated. Blood pressure gradually creeps up. Blood sugar regulation worsens. You're basically aging faster than you should. This is the warning nobody takes seriously because everyone has it. Who isn't stressed? Exactly. Everyone's stressed, meaning everyone's ignoring their body's desperate attempts to say something's wrong. Marcus, a 36-year-old San Francisco software engineer. Long hours, tight deadlines, constantly on call. For 3 years, he barely slept more than 5 hours nightly. Coffee and takeout. Resting heart rate consistently in the 90 seconds. Gaining weight. Constantly irritable. Marcus figured this was just tech life. Everyone lived like this. Until his annual physical showed blood pressure at 145/95. Stage 2, hypertension. A1C at 6.3, pre-diabetes. Cholesterol borderline high. And he was only 36. His doctor explained something terrifying. Marcus had the cardiovascular system of someone 15 years older. His chronic stress had literally aged his body. Continue this path, heart attack by mid-40 seconds. Marcus made changes, started sleeping 7 hours. Actually took weekends off. Started exercising. Within 6 months, blood pressure, normal. A1C dropped. Lost 20 pounds. His body had been screaming for 3 years through elevated heart rate, poor sleep, weight gain. But because everyone around him was the same, he thought it was normal. Studies now show chronic stress is a major risk factor for basically every major disease. Heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, even cancer. When your body's constantly in fight or flight mode, everything starts breaking down. Modern life made chronic stress the default. We're always connected, always working, never truly resting. Our bodies hate it. Doctors now recognize stress-related biomarkers. Elevated cortisol, high inflammation markers, elevated blood sugar. Your body saying, "This stress is actually damaging me." The good news? Stress-related damage is often reversible. Better sleep, regular exercise, actual time off. These aren't luxury wellness trends. They're medical interventions that can literally reverse biological aging. So we've covered 7 warning signs, and here's what they all have in common, and why your body is actually pretty amazing at trying to keep you alive. So here's what's crazy about all 7 warnings. Your body gives you 2 to 5 years advance notice before most major crises. 2 to 5 years. That's what medical research shows across heart disease, diabetes, cancer, neurological conditions. Your body doesn't want you dead. It's actively trying to keep you alive by sending increasingly urgent messages. Starts subtle with fatigue or skin changes, escalates to pain or cognitive issues, shows you visible lumps, and if you ignore everything, finally pulls the fire alarm with acute symptoms. Here's another wild stat. About 70% of major health crises are preceded by detectable symptoms. 70%. The vast majority of heart attacks, strokes, and cancer diagnoses could potentially be caught earlier if people actually paid attention. And early detection changes everything. Catching cancer at stage 1 instead of stage 4 can mean 90% survival versus 20%. Catching heart disease before a heart attack means managing with medication instead of emergency surgery. Catching diabetes at pre-diabetes means reversing it with lifestyle changes. The technology exists. Basic annual physical with blood work can catch most warnings. Costs maybe $100, with insurance, takes an hour. But here's the psychology problem. Humans are terrible at recognizing gradual changes in ourselves. That 3-year fatigue buildup, your brain adjusts, decides it's normal. We're awful at pattern recognition for our own bodies. This is why doctors recommend annual checkups, not to make money, but because outside observers with medical training spot patterns you've normalized. Modern medicine has gotten insanely better at treating conditions caught early. 20 years ago, pre-diabetes meant you were probably getting diabetes. Now, we can reverse it. Early-stage cancer required brutal treatment. Now, many removed with minimally invasive surgery. Survival rates for basically every major condition have improved dramatically when caught in early warning stages. But only if people actually show up. Screening technology has improved massively. Better imaging, better blood tests, better genetic screening. We can detect warnings earlier and more accurately than ever in human history. You have more control over health outcomes than any generation before you. The tools exist, the knowledge exists, early detection protocols exist. The only missing piece is you actually paying attention when your body tries telling you something. So if you're exhausted constantly, get your blood checked. Skin changing color? See a doctor. Weird pain? Get it investigated. A lump? Get it biopsied. Acute symptoms? Call 911. Chronically stressed? Treat it like the medical condition it is. Your body is trying to keep you alive. It's been sending messages. The question is whether you're listening. And if you think the connection between these 7 warnings and long-term survival is wild, the relationship between gut health and basically every disease we discussed is even more insane. But I guess we'll save that for another time.